Suid-Afrika het tot die 3de plek opgeskuif na die 13de skof van die Dakar tydren en 'n afstand van 668 km van Bamako na Kai in Mali is afgelê. Geniel de Villiers is steeds in die algehele 4de plek, meer as 4 uur agterste van Peter Hansel van Frankryk. Sarel van Vuren.
Gister het die motorfietsjaars nie gejaag nie. Uit eerbetoon vir die topjaar Fabrizio Mioni wat die vorige dag verongeluk het. Vandag was dit weer terug in die saal en Australië se Andy Caldecott het met sy tweede skofoorwinning gewys hy kan teen die gunstelinge meeding. Cox het die 370 km mededingende deel van die skof net 4,5 minute stadiger afgelê en hy is nou in die algehele 3de plek. Die Fransman Cyril Depré is steeds die voorloper, al was hy vandag 7de oor die eindstreep. In die afdeling vir motors het Mitsubishi gewys waarom hy die wedren die afgelope klompie jare oorheers. Peter Hansel het sy soveelste skofoorwinning behaal, met sy spanmaat Luc Alphand kort op sy hakke. De Villiers kon nie sy oorwinning van gister herhaal nie en was 3de. Dit lyk al hoe meer asof hy met 'n 4de plek tevrede sal moet wees. Sarel van Vuren, SAK.
En daarmee groet die Afrikaanse span.
The 2005 Dakar Rally. Time is of the essence. Every moment on your channel of champions. Sponsored by Total Quartz Lubricants.
Stage 13 of the Telefonica Dakar 2005. We go from Bamako to Kays, and there were thousands of people out on the route. Cyril Depré, the overall leader of the bike class, has problems. Will he be able to fix them? And Jose Maria Servia goes for a roll in the dust. Quick look back at what happened yesterday as we went from Mauritania into Mali. Passing is now the key word on the Telefonica Dakar. Trying to find your way through past another competitor, trying to find your way through all of that dust. Robbie Gordon had problems yesterday.
Behind me is my chase crew. These guys, what do you think the chances of them having a spare damper? Actually, 2 spare dampers are. Because if they got dampers, I want to go home. I want my bed. I want my own bed and my own shower.
Things getting a little tough for a NASCAR driver. Sure enough, the T4 truck arrives and they manage to get the shockers all in and fixed.
No. I'm gonna drive back to the United States. Across the water. I quit. I called my mom.
Robbie Gordon soon got rocking and rolling again. But as you can see, trying to get as close as possible to the competitor in front is nigh on impossible at times. And if you get it wrong, you can be in serious trouble. As Jose Maria Servia found out, he couldn't even reverse his own way out from the tree. It was Thierry Magnaldi who this time helped out Servia. Remember that the Schlesser team helped out Magnaldi a couple of days ago when they lent them a spare gearbox. Servia saying, well, with two-wheel drive it's very difficult to actually keep the thing on the road. We slide around a lot, but we're going to get going again. He did, of course, make sure that he picked up the spare headlight. Jean-Louis may have charged him for it. Now we go back to the day before, into Kiffa, more of what you missed.
We thought we could make it across the turn, only a short segment, but it wasn't quite low enough. So we'll air him down and give it another try.
Time today.
On board with this bike rider, you can see how difficult it is, and you can be on board as he falls off. He says it's so easy to fall in this soft sand today. So, the Telefonica Dakar moves out of Bamako. We go west towards Caves. Today, stage 13 of this year's event, the biggest motorsport events on the planet. A long road section that started very early this morning before a 370-kilometre stage, a 93-kilometre road section back to the new bivouac this evening in Caves. A very early start for the riders to complete their road section this morning before the stage starts. Look at the amount of people out there. Drama's actually starting first thing for Jean Brucy this morning. He came out of service before dawn and realised that his roadbook wasn't working, so he had to go back into service to try and get the thing fixed. Fortunately, he rode the road section very quickly indeed, and he didn't lose any time at all. He managed to get his correct slot on the start line. And as you can see, it was rather busy out there in deepest Black Africa. Well, Cyril Dupre, he, as the overall leader of the rally, has got it all to do into these last few 100 kilometres in a 9,000-kilometre event. And let us not forget that this is the first stage mileage for these motorcycle riders since the death of Fabrizio Mioni 2 days ago. The black armband, of course, on every rider today. No stage for them yesterday, so this is their first competitive mileage, and Dupre not having an easy time. He's got a bit of a dicky tummy, and it's proving not good for him. A very, very fast first 150 kilometres this morning. Then he had problems at the refuelling after a small crash. But he says, today I've got to try hard to be focused. I fell and the stone hit my exhaust pipe, and I've only really got one exhaust pipe now. It's strangling the engine. I've got to go a bit slower, but I think I'm just about going to be able to get to the finish. Nothing like a Swiss Army knife when you need one to hack apart a works KTM. Of course, if the exhaust is a little bit crimped, it's going to strangle the engine, the thing can't breathe, it's going to sound as noisy as hell, but that doesn't matter out there. They managed to cut the thing off, to let the thing breathe, and soon Dupre getting back on the road. Dupre losing a little bit of time, obviously, with the problems, but still managing 7th position. He holds his overall lead this evening into K's. But scenes very reminiscent of the 1992 Dakar rally, which actually went from Paris to Cape Town. One of the longest rallies that the Dakar has ever done, right from the top of Europe, right down to the bottom of Africa. Eric Verhoef continuing in the rally. He had a leak his radiator late last night and to repair it with some magic metal. Fortunately, didn't take long. We haven't seen much of Giovanni Sala on this year's rally, except of course on the very opening stage in Barcelona when he had those clutch problems. But Sala really working as a water carrier, as a flying mechanic, one could say, for the other Repsol KTM machines. Sala 10th today, 7th in the overall standings. Next up, one of his teammates. This is Isidre Esteve Puyol, who still holds 4th position overall, but it's very close for Puyol. He's only 27 seconds behind Alfie Cox this evening, and the South African has got to do a lot of work indeed to try and fend Esteve Puyol off. Here is Jean Brucy, number 9, the aforementioned Frenchman who had those roadbook problems first thing before dawn this morning when he realised that the moving notebook that's in front of them, just behind the number, there you can see the GPS system on the dashboard, and the roadbook wasn't working. He couldn't really tell which way the road went next. João Azevedo from Brazil, good for him, one of the best results on this year's Dakar. 5th position for him, to Azevedo, once more holding a top 10 position overall. Here is Alfie Cox, a day from hell, he says. He caught to Azevedo in his haste to get past him through the dust. He nearly had it off, he banged his leg, and instead he just opted to stay behind him. What a good day though for Chris Blaise. He finished 3rd, 1 place ahead of Alfie Cox, the American rookie, 3rd on today's stage, only 3.5 minutes back of today's stage victor. 2nd on today's stage, David Frétigné. Frétigné not feeling so bad with himself now he's back on a competitive motorcycle, but he had to concentrate a great deal. But today's stage went to Andy Caldicott from Keith in South Australia. Caldicott, his 2nd stage victory for he and his KTM in 2005, and surely many, many more yet to come. Caldicott holding 6th position overall. 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th and 6th position overall, covered by 25 minutes in the overall standings. It's still tight. Now we're on board with Alain Duclos. He's saying, as he's coming through one of the many bridges at the regulatory 50km/h speed limit, this is just a dream for me. I used to come and watch this rally come through this part of the world some 20 years ago, and for me to now be competing along the very road that I used to watch on is just absolutely brilliant. My father and I used to come and watch, and now here I am in the rally, and it's just the best feeling. Alain Duclos, by the way, who has ridden in the Dakar before, took a year off last year. He was the organisers. Now it's good to see him back on a bike. Good to see him 14th overall. So then, recapping the top 5 today. Caldicott victorious once more from Frétigné, Blaise, Cox and João Azevedo from Brazil in 5th. But the overall standings still have the prey at the head of it, ahead of Coma, Cox. But look how close it is. Cox only 27 seconds ahead of Esteve Puyol, for Frétigné in 5th. Caldicott 6th, Sala D'Azevedo, Chris Blaise and John Brucey.
Very, very dusty. Made it very difficult at times. You know, you were just sort of trail riding the dust, but I think everybody was really just aiming at getting through today and getting through to tonight, and not really riding at full pace. You know, it was very difficult to concentrate, so I think everyone was just looking at getting through here.
Second place today, David Fretinier saying the stage was very long, nearly 500 kilometres on an extremely dusty road. We started very easily, and we had a great deal of dust, making it so difficult to see anything at all. I started 11th, and it was not so easy to go quickly. The dust was just hanging in the air all over the road. There were small and narrow roads, but I caught 3 others. It was impossible to pass them, and then, of course, to get in front, to get to the whole head of everybody, to be the leader. So I preferred to do my own run today instead of going faster and faster as I could fall, and of course perhaps maybe even hurt myself.
I've got to hold my own race, and I had a good time today, and just being smooth, and it paid off.
How different is this from what you've been used to in the USA?
Well, everything up until now has been really different, but today we got in like the mountain roads, nice and twisty, and a few rocks in the middle, not too much, and then we opened up on some really fast roads, and that's what I'm used to. So I had fun. It was a good time.
We all know about drivers, but what about co-drivers? They just get a bashing alongside the driver.
230 kilometers, not so good, but now it's fantastic.
A co-driver needs to have very many different qualities.
Patience. To be the other half. To be gentle.
La gentillesse.
On board here with Carlos Sousa, the Portuguese driver, and his co-driver, well, serving out the drinks. And much needed as well. He says it's just like a wedding because we do something extremely strong together, and that needs a lot of work. It's not easy. Things can go wrong inside cars, as we saw in Granada on stage 3 of this year's Dakar. The driver asking questions and the co-driver wasn't really answering them. Jean-Paul Cottret saying inside the car we must not argue. We have to immediately get over any other problems whatsoever. In other situations, the co-driver may choose to shut up because the driver is doing so well. The smallest mistake from one or other of us builds pressure, and if it falls apart, well, that's bad news. After a few minutes, though, I'll take the next pace notes, and it's all clear, and we're okay. Other times, it's just fun. Today's 370-kilometre stage for the cars got underway a few minutes after the bikes had left town. There was certainly a leaving party for everybody. First on the stage, though, Stefan Pederhansel, the overall leader of this year's Dakar, the reigning champion, within grasping range of a second Dakar victory. Scenes just like maybe even the East African Safari Rally that used to be a round of the World Rally Championship, but they didn't do a hill climb such as this. Stefan Pederhansel actually losing his horn on the rally on today's stage. He couldn't warn the other drivers that he was behind them. So it was really a muted Pederhansel that was there. Luc Alphand chasing him hard in second position after Pederhansel eventually got to the finish first. Alphand was 4 minutes and 17 seconds behind him and jumping for joy. Alphand really does make a habit of going flat out on these kind of stages in this part of the world. Very, very fast at the beginning of the stage, but then it soon got rocky and rutted as Janil de Villiers clinched third position. De Villiers taking no risks at all because of the dust. Pederhansel caught him, he went past him, but then De Villiers had a massive off, took the steering wheel out of his hands. Had a big bang on the front left of the car, but fortunately got away with it. Thierry Magnaldi clinching fourth position, a couple of minutes back of de Villiers. Nani Roma in 5th position on the stage today. The rookie in the Dakar on 4 wheels, just getting it home. The team says, we don't care where you finish, you've just got to get it to Dakar itself. And as we say in Dakar circles, you've got to get your medal. Now here's a perfect example of the Sentinel system working so well. This is Jutta Kleinschmidt coming up behind one of the bike riders. The bike rider's having an audible and visual warning on his motorcycle to say that there's a car behind him. Kleinschmidt got 6th position today. The mechanics finished literally minutes this morning before Kleinschmidt had to leave Bamako service before she could attack today's stage. Now we're on board with Luke Seek. He says, we've got to drive at the speed of our own vehicle. Ours is obviously quite slow compared with the professional cars, and sometimes we drive for pleasure. And just as he says that, he goes off. This time, I'm going to have to drive to preserve the car. And all sorts of choice French language as well. We'll skip over that, as the views were once more spectacular as Africa gets greener and greener. Carlos Souza, 7th position on today's stage, still holds 7th overall, but of course 10 hours behind the overall leader, Stefan Pederhansel. Souza doing a sterling job though, with really the second string Nissan, run by Nissan France. Andre Dessoude's squad once more coming up trumps. Monterde in the 2nd BMW. The BMW, of course, now the lone machine with the X5 badge after Nasser Al Attiyah crashed a couple of days ago en route to Attar. Sven Quant's job team still inside the top 10. Ari Vatanen, well, he was in one way that he only knows how, either a flying fin super sideways or maximum super fast. Vatanen, of course, still providing fast service for Janil de Villiers. Bruno Sabi with his diesel Touareg Volkswagen, the former leader of this year's rally, but now in 5th position. Only 16 minutes his advantage in the overall standings ahead of Nani Roma. If Sabi has even the smallest of problems, Roma could be going from 6th to 5th in the overall standings. But Sabi just taking it steady through one of the many water splashes today. On board with Yun Mitsuhashi, he started today 10th overall. The former Japanese motorcycle Dakar rider, not having a good day. He slipped down to 12th position overall, losing some 39 minutes on today's stage. A golden top 10 position for he in his Nissan would be just brilliant for the Japanese. Jose Maria Servia, he had an encounter with a tree yesterday, as we saw earlier, and he had an encounter with gravity today. He rolled his 2-wheel drive buggy, and as you could see, decided to, well, rip the thing apart and decide how he was going to limp the thing to the end of the stage. Carbon fibre may be floppy and flimsy when it's not on the car, but of course very strong when it is, and no use when it's broken. Servia saying, we were going through a corner, but we went too tight. I went too tight, touched the inside, it pushed me out, and we went straight on. He did eventually get to the finish, but still with the sponsor's name in tow, of course. At the finish, Stefan Pederhansel eventually rocked up the victor of the stage to have an advantage over Alphon, but Pederhansel soon to apologise to Janil de Villiers, because Pederhansel saying he didn't have a horn left on the car, and de Villiers of course knocked his wing mirrors off because he hit a tree. So a bit of sporting conduct between the Frenchman and the South African.
And it just goes to back, yeah.
Pederhansel extending his lead just ahead of Alphon with this stage victory. De Villiers 3rd today, Magnaldi good 4th, Roma 5th. Overall, Peter Hansel's lead, 27.5 minutes. Kleinschmidt third, De Villiers fourth, Sabi in fifth position. Sixth is Roma, then Souza, Magnaldi, Monterde, and now inside the top 10, Dalmau.
Écoutez, on a rattrapé
Peter Hansel saying we caught Janil at 150 clicks, and we wanted to overtake at a part not too dusty. We were very close to him, pushing hard to overtake, but it was danger level 3 in the road book, and then we went off. He jumped off the road. He's lost time, but I was afraid that his car hit something and stopped him. Fortunately, he was okay.
I heard Stefan was behind me because we were taking it easy, and yesterday I knocked my mirror off the right hand side, so I did not know where he was behind me, and I moved to the right hand side to let him pass, and obviously the tires and everything is very hot from the asphalt, the tarmac, and it just put the rear wheel on the gravel and spun it around, which was a bit of a moment, but luckily everything was okay and we could just get out.
Oui, c'est vrai qu'on est satisfait
Thierry Magnaldi,
qu'on a fait.
Fourth on today's stage. He says we're happy with the work that we've done. We can't do any better. The top teams might make some mistakes sometimes, but we're well placed.
On le suit tous les jours et on le respecte.
It's a day with the result that we wanted to do. 3 days more, and I can only hope that everything is okay. Right, quick look back at what happened with the truck class today on the Dakar, stage 13. As we move from Bamako to Kays, Gerard de Roy rocking up the victor ahead of his father, Jan. 18 minutes and 50 seconds exactly the difference between them in a stage taking them 4.5 hours. Kabirov continues to lead in the overall standings. He lost quite a bit of time today, nearly an hour in fact, but he still leads overall with his Russian Kamaz to the tune of some 2 hours and 40 minutes ahead of Hans Becks, the Dutchman, Sugawara third, Vismara fourth, Jan and Gerard de Roy fifth and sixth. Ought to give a quick shout out to Markku Alén. Yes, that's Markku Alén from Finland. Probably the quickest man never to win the World Rally Championship. He's doing his first ever Dakar. He's driving with an Italian crew in a truck. He's 7th in the overall standings. The Finn, of course, a former Works Lancia driver out of Turin, and one of the few Finns that can speak fluent Italian. Stage 14 dawns with a road section of 93 kilometres, then a big special, 529 kilometres as we move from Kays to Tambacounda, and then a short road section at the end of matters. It's going to be another difficult stage. Join us tomorrow for more Dakar Action 2005.